Greetings out there. Welcome to Culture Shock, a show where we delve into why we are the way we are and why we do the things we do, particularly in response to changes and evolution in our personal lives and the environment around us. Today we shall be talking about losing loved ones because a void is left in the lives of family members and friends when they lose someone close to them. So joining me today to talk about living with grief after losing a loved one, I have Toriseju Olaitan, Kaliko, Olowole, and Osakioduwa. Guys, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
And I'd like to thank you, for coming to talk about something clearly very personal. You've dealt with it over a number of years, everyone here, so without, tarrying too long, if you can tell us, who you lost and how you've, been dealing with it.
I lost my husband 3 years ago. Yeah, so it's been tough so far.
Do you mind how did he die?
He had cancer.
He had cancer.
Cancer, yeah.
So the rude intruder in our lives.
Yeah.
Kaliko?
Well, I lost my son 6 years ago. Yeah, 6 years ago next month in a car accident.
Okay. Okay.
I lost my mom in 2012. Hearing that now, hearing the two of us speak, it sounds like I shouldn't be in this room. Like it's a whole different level.
Yeah. But
Depends on how close you are to the
yeah,
person.
There's the loss of
really
spouse,
close to your mom.
Loss of child, loss of a parent. Like Ike, in your case, I know that your career, which you've embarked upon, like your mother was, if not your biggest supporter, like one of.
Yeah, she was at one point. She was the only supporter. My dad had this picture that I would. At first, he thought I would join the army.
Sergeant Ike.
I know, and that was the career path he had planned for me. When he found out, that I had sabotaged that, and that wasn't going to work out. Thought, at least try and be something responsible, like an engineer, or that didn't work out. Then he thought, you'll just be, an economist, someone in the financial institutions.
Yeah.
And then he heard after somewhere towards the end of school, university, that I wanted to be an entertainer, and he was just like, no.
I will not entertain such.
You get it. So my entire family is full of engineers, accountants, and architects.
Okay.
So they thought I would find my way into one of those.
Who are you?
Yeah, exactly. And so nobody was in support of entertainment. And they would say this thing, which was basically, don't do it. No, we're not saying don't do it. We're saying get a job, a real job.
Real job.
And then on Saturdays, you can do whatever you want with your time.
So your weekend also.
So at some point, I was chasing it for a long time. But then at some point, after giving it a shot and it wasn't paying and I was struggling with it, I decided I was going to quit, and just go back to economics, and I was going to do ICANN and become a chartered accountant, and my mom was the only one. My mom was like, no, you're going to be an entertainer.
Oh, wow.
And I remember something she did which was radical. She went out, she printed business cards for me.
Oh.
Yeah, she I was like, what's this? She's like, those are your business cards.
That's
That's
what I was
gonna say. Yeah.
That's kind of cool. She got these two faces, those comedy masks, right?
Bittersweet,
Yeah, she put them on the face of the card. She put up Ike, then my surname was Oviawe, which was a whole different story. Ike Oviawe, MC, comedian, entertainer. And then she put my phone number on there and my email address, and she was like, give this out everywhere you go. I'm like, but I don't. She's like, just do it. I'm like, okay. She's like, you're going to make millions from being an entertainer.
Oh, wow.
So, but for her, I wouldn't be in the industry at all, because I had given up until that day, and it just changed my direction.
Okay, and so, it must be like bittersweet, like she put on the cards, like, you've attained that success, and I believe you've made millions. I can see your...
The bling?
Yeah, that's why I brought the bling. Each one represents $1 million in my life.
I'll talk of
Amen. Currency.
Lagos State, I'm joking.
So like so achieving this success and she's not around. To physically enjoy that. How does that weigh on you? Like,
it's my greatest regret in in life, because all throughout the time I was doing it, my mind was, when I've made it or when I get there, she'll be the biggest beneficiary.
Yeah, I'm about my mama.
And that was snatched away from me at some point. During Big Brother one season, it's a hectic period for me. I'd fly back and forth every week between SA and Nigeria for 3.5 or so months. And on one of those trips back home, she had been seeing a doctor in England somewhere. She had moved to Mexico. I wasn't even following as close as I should have, because it'll be fine. She'll be okay. She had cancer, and she was now in Mexico for treatment. So I'd come home. It was my birthday a few days before. Family members decided they would take me out to dinner, a late dinner. And after dinner, it was a strange dinner, but it was dinner. So we had dinner, it was fun, everybody's laughing, but not really laughing. I was like, okay, cool.
You weren't so funny then.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. And then I got home, my kids and my wife went upstairs, and then they said to me, okay, my brother called me and said, okay, so you're going back tomorrow, but I don't want you to hear, because these things leak.
Yeah, they get out.
So mommy passed. I was like, what? And it was right in the middle of the show. So I had to decide what I was going to do with it, whether I wanted to continue. But I kind of felt that if I didn't continue that day, I wouldn't continue at all. And what kept me going was the fact that she was the greatest supporter of my entertainment career, and she pushed for it. If I felt like I'd be letting her down if I stopped, so I went back and I finished the show. But it's always been my biggest regret that she hasn't seen some major milestones that have happened in my life.
It cannot be easy, but we're grateful for. We thank your mother. Because you are a joy and inspiration to so many people, and
She loved Chinedu, by the way. She had all the time in the world for this nonsense individual.
Your other entertainer friend.
Yeah, my other entertainer friend.
So I think the difference why there's that career gap is she didn't print me cards. Otherwise, hey, I'd be little. So told you, how many children do you have?
2.
You have 2 children. So
Girl and a boy.
girl and a boy, and so your husband passed 3 years ago.
Yeah.
How are they children?
My daughter is 12 and my son is 9.
So
and they watched it because he had cancer for 4 years.
Wow.
And he battled it, chemo, radiotherapy, everything, surgeries. So
What cancer, if you don't mind asking?
Neuroendocrine, but in his pancreas, like the Steve Jobs one.
Yeah.
So yes, that was like the toughest part. If I could shield them from all that, or erase their memory or something, witnessing all that, it was it was horrible. So 2012, 2010 actually, he had some stomach issues, digestion issues. We thought it was what's that thing?
IBS.
IBS, exactly, and that's what he was diagnosed with in Nigeria. No, but actually wasn't anyone's fault, because they did everything they were supposed to have done, but it wasn't, because it's slow growing. All the times they checked, there was nothing. There was nothing. They couldn't trace. They just knew that all the insides were reacting to something, and they couldn't figure out what it was. So by 2012. At this time, he couldn't taste anything. He couldn't swallow properly. So he went for a full checkup, and they found the mass in his pancreas. And the doctor just told us. In fact, it was really funny in the doctor's room that day. He just said, at that point, his body started to itch because the tumor had blocked some other organ. So some toxins, the bile duct, some toxins that were supposed to be released weren't being released, so they were coming onto his skin. So he just said, look, you need to have a procedure, and then I don't know what's going to happen after that, because what I'm looking at looks really bad. And you know, the doctor was even like teary-eyed, and it was just an all-around bad situation. So we just had to fly him out, you know, get that procedure done. And when we were abroad, that's when they told us that, look, he had pancreatic cancer and there was nothing that could be done. But later, after some tests, they found out that it was neuroendocrine cancer, a bit better, different from adenocarcinoma. Sorry, so this technical terms, but slow growing, so quite annoying, because you think you've conquered it and then it pops up somewhere else because of the neuro system all around.
So it's just popping up in
so it just kept on popping up. That's what they just kept on doing, you know, over the years. And you know, we'll treat it here, it'll pop up there, treat it there, pop up there. And obviously he wasn't a pin cushion, so he couldn't have several surgeries. So he'll have chemo, he'll have radio. So it was half of himself. So, you know, those 4 years were just flying all around the world, you know, trying to, not the way we planned, exactly. But like just trying to control the disease. And eventually they told us there was nothing that they could do. And so he just came home. This was in April 2016. And by September, you know, so he deteriorated right before our eyes. So we had to watch that happen.
I'm so sorry. I mean,
that's the summary.
That's the summary.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. You've been through that. Like you had it as well. Like because I mean, living through this and seeing that every day must have been tough. I'm not even going to pretend to imagine. I mean, I've lost people close to me, but when you hear it's a personal journey, and like someone said to me, you know, like you don't choose your family, your parents, but you chose your spouse. So this is somebody you chose. Like I'm going through life through you. Like, it must have been painful, and then it was. So I mean, to keep the conversation, right? Like some Kaliko, like a car accident, like something like. So you see, I mean, cancer, like, for example, you know this and come, but the car accident, like sudden, it's like so literally snatched. Like, how was that?
For answer that, I just wanted to say, so just like you, when I was young, I also wanted to go into entertainment. I wanted to be a musician, and back then we had these boom boxes where you could sing into, and I sang into it, and I played my voice back to myself.
That was the end.
Thank you. That was the end of that.
Thank you,
boom box. I actually remember the name of the song. It was called "You're a Garden Papilo." Don't ask me what it is. I just sang it over and over again, and it came back, and so yes, I'm background. So my son was 29 years old when he passed. I had him very young, and we'll come to
he's a young guy.
So and he was living in South Africa, working. He just finished his masters, and he was working in South Africa as an engineer. And one fine Sunday morning or afternoon, I got a phone call from a friend of mine in South Africa, and said, "Your son." And I said, "What about my son?" And then he paused and goes, "I heard he might have been in an accident."
So it's not even dead.
So I'm thinking, okay. He goes, "But he doesn't know much."
Sure.
I said, "Okay." So I put the phone down, and I had a cousin. I have a cousin in Joburg. I just realized I don't have his number. So I call my sister. We just finished celebrating one of my younger sister's 40th in London, and I was the only one who was back in Lagos at the time. So the rest of my family were still in the UK. So I called my sister, and I'm like, "Can you send me so-and-so's number?" And she goes, "Okay." She puts the phone down. 5 minutes, no number. I call her back again. "Can you send me so-and-so's? Can you send me so-and-so's number?" "Okay." She puts the phone down. I call my other sister. "Do you have so-and-so's number? Can you send it?" "Yes, I'll send it." Silence, no number. So I'm thinking something weird is going on here.
Yeah.
So I called my younger sister back. I said, "I asked you to send me this guy's number." She goes, "Why?" I said, "Okay, between you," and she's the one I'm closest to.
Okay.
I said, "Between you and I."
How many sisters do you have?
I have three.
Okay. Yeah, think about it.
So yeah, you know.
I don't like you.
No, African father syndrome, you know.
That over it. Yeah.
So I said, "Okay, between you and I, I heard my son's called Sheng. Sheng's been in an accident, and I just want to make sure he's okay. She goes, okay, I'll send you this guy's number. Nothing.
Still no. Wow.
So I called back, and now her husband picks up the phone. And I said, where is Yewande? She goes, she's praying. I said, because it was Sunday in church. So I remember putting her on the phone and thinking, this my sister must she was a very, very callous person, or she doesn't care, or she knows something that I don't know. So it turns out that they'd all heard, and they were waiting. And the reason why they hadn't told me is because I was there, that whole Nigeria there, let somebody go and be with him. I seen that I lived on the 8th floor at the time, so they probably thought, but eventually, I remember, eventually, I think one of them must have said, you know what, it's not fair, because the torture they put in me, because I'm going crazy. So I called one of my sisters. So one of my sisters then calls me and said, okay, we have to tell you, your son was involved in a car accident. And I said, yes, I know that already. Is he dead or is he alive? And just that definite silence just told me that, he had passed on. And I remember I was lying in bed, and I got up to go to the living room, and I couldn't make it that far. I just went to pieces. So that was how I found out. And but I think for me, the lesson that I took out of that, and I remember the first thing I said to myself at the time was, I'm sorry. And I said I'm sorry because I had him at a very young age. So the first formative years, I was in London doing what my mother raised him. I wasn't really there like a father should. And we only kind of connected in the last sort of 10 years before he passed. And I kind of felt maybe I'd failed him as a father. And so for me, it was more of guilt than anything. Oh, wow. And then not to deal with the drama of having to because it was in South Africa, trying to bring him back to Nigeria. And you see your son being rolled out in those Nigerian airports. In those, I think there's about 4 coffins, so just piled them all on top of each other and they rolled them out. And it was identified by a number. The number so and so, the airwayable number is what my son was referred to. And for me, I think that was the most crushing part of that experience, when your son has been identified by a number.
Like literally become another statistic. Oh man, I don't want to imagine, because it's like I've said it before, that once we're born, that is the #1 promise: you will die. Mm-hmm. We know this thing. Okay, the clock has just started ticking. The baby's out, it's ticking, but nothing prepares you. And then so cancer, which no respect of persons. Rich and famous, poor and high and mighty, cancer doesn't care. Then car accident, sudden, it's so. How long? I'm sure there was a depressing. You had to get on a plane and fly away from your family, loved ones, to continue smiling to everyone on camera, oh, watch this show. And that's what I came to it. You, dealing with, you were alone, like they said, and burying your child, like they say, especially, tradition, many African traditions, you don't bury your children and stuff like that. Then your spouse, he's left you with 2 children. Were there periods of depression? What was it, friends, and what did you lean on for support?
Okay, the thing is, when you've watched a loved one suffer for a while, at least for me, I just became numb. So at some point, there were just no emotions. I didn't even know what I was feeling, because to deal with, the fact that he was sick, being his carer, then, everybody says, okay, you're allowed to break down, but be strong. Don't let the children see. And then people are just telling you different things. And so what I took out of that was, just build a wall. Just have to be strong.
Not that kind of war.
just try to be strong, so no emotion. So I didn't deal for a while.
Oh, wow.
At all. I didn't deal. I just went, through the motions. And then, because unfortunately as well, the closest person, at least in my situation, to the spouse, and he left details because he knew he was going to die. So you don't even have any time to recover, unless obviously you need to be sedated or something. So everyone asks you questions. What do you want done? Okay, the funeral, this, that. So unless you want to be committed, and then obviously I still had to be a mom to my children. So I couldn't afford to break down in my situation. So I didn't deal for a very long time. I wasn't depressed. I was just, you know,
Yeah.
I was just continuing.
Like a robot,
yeah, like a robot, you know, automated. Continuing with all the plans, everything seemed fine. And also because a few years before I had lost my mom, I hadn't dealt with that either. So, yeah, so I was just going through the motions. So I don't even think that I've really dealt with this properly, you know, but, you know, I know God, you know, He's helping me through it. And, yeah.
I mean, it's interesting you say is there a proper way to deal with it? Like, in your experience, do you think? Is there?
I don't know. There is a, I don't know.
You don't know what it is, right?
I went straight to denial. When my brother told me, it was like at just past midnight. He called after I got home, after dinner, saying, listen, this is what's happened. And I was like, okay, no problem, I've heard you. And he was like, did you hear what I said? Because he knew how close I was to my mom. Yeah. Everybody else went off to boarding school or spent time away from home, but I didn't. I was always with her throughout. She's like, did you hear me? I'm like, yeah. But he was so convinced I was not paying attention that he called my brother-in-law who lives in my state and says, go tell him, because I just told him, but I don't think he heard me because of the way he dismissed it. So my brother-in-law came over to the house and said, they want me to talk to you about this again. I said, there's nothing to speak about. I've heard them. It's good. I just need some time. So I sort of kicked him out of the house. And he said, what's your issue? I said, God can't do this to me. So he can't. So he was like, oh. So
nothing I can do about that.
Yeah, so I was like, yes, I'm going to take it up with him. So he left, and I got on my knees, and I told God, I said, listen, this doesn't make any kind of sense. And that if truly what you like is faith, right, I'm your boy. Because on this matter, I have faith that she's going to get up. So I said, I don't need any drama. I called my dad. He was with my mom, who had just passed, or who had passed. I don't know what time of the day. I have no idea till now. I said, put the phone by her ear. I'm going to speak her out. So my dad's like, what? I'm like, just do it. So and I start praying and telling her to get up. That didn't happen. So my dad, I think, got frustrated because that's just torture for him. So he's like, look, I'm not doing this anymore. Just go deal with it. It's happened. It's happened. So he gets off the phone. I spend another 2 hours, just praying, there. And then something strange happened, which I think was maybe God trying to let me know that, look, I can hear you, but this is not going to happen. It's not going to work. So I'm praying on the floor there for about 2 hours, telling God that she has to get up. She has to get up, and because I have faith. So you can't tell me if it's about faith. I have faith. So she has to get up. So there's a bang on my gate, but I don't want to be disturbed by it. Eventually, I go out, find some old woman on the floor. She's lying down screaming, "My daughter, my daughter, my daughter, my daughter." I'm like, I'm trying to not be rude to her, but whatever your daughter's issue is cannot be as big. So I'm like, who are you? Where are you from? Or which daughter? She's like, oh, she lives like at the top of the street. I'm like, do you know how many houses you passed before you came to my gate? And I was really rude because I was like, I'm in the middle of something. It's like 2, 3 a.m. in the morning. I'm like, do you know how many houses you went past to come to my gate? She's like, please just help me. So we go back towards her house. Her daughter is upstairs on the floor. Before I get in, some guy says to me, don't bother, the girl's dead, he's checked. So I'm like, more dead bodies. Like, I don't even need this, So she's like, please just help me. So I go upstairs and I pray with the girl the way I've been praying for my mom. Girl's eyes roll back. She breathes in suddenly. This is after I've checked for a heartbeat. I'm not a doctor, so I don't know
what you're checking the right thing.
I have no idea. I'm checking everything. No breath, no beats. I'm thinking, she is that time. But I pray. Her eyes roll back. She breathes in suddenly, like in the movies. So I carry her, put her in my car, drop her. There's a hospital right at the gate. So drop her at the hospital, drop her mom, get back to my house. And my first words to God, like, do you think I'm impressed? Hello.
Wrong message.
I don't know whether you're paying attention, but that's not what I was praying for.
That's not my mom.
So I was in that place, but I think what I got out of it was like, God can work miracles. Things can happen, but when it's time for somebody, it's time. So, but like told you, I didn't deal with it. After that, it just stopped me from fighting. Yeah. But I didn't deal with it for another year or two. One day, my dad sent me upstairs to go get something from his room. And I was looking and I found this box my mom kept for all the kids. There are 5 of us. And my mom had a file, folder for each of us, for every newspaper. She had our results from primary school, stashed there. And then I was just reading her comments and prayer points on each child. And I was the one.
So you had the biggest file, right?
Yeah, I had a box. I had a box.
Each of the professors.
Yeah,
No,
but that's what messed me up. When I got there, I saw her handwriting. That's the first time I cried.
You cried.
Yeah, that was the first time I dealt with it. So I have no idea how people are supposed to deal with grief.
Yeah, but you do it.
Essentially, I don't know why you invited me to the show.
There's no one.
I think for me, I think 2 things. I think I'll tell you how I dealt with it in the moment. But I think what really hit me at the time is how the prescribed way in which you're supposed to deal with guilt and deal with grief and loss, and what our society says one must do. And what upset me a lot more was just the people just wanting to come to your house to come and visit you. I've just lost someone. I'm grieving. I need to be by myself. I don't need. Sorry, I know a lot of people do, but I don't need 50 people coming to my house every day just to sit there.
And you have to feed them.
I was just going to say
so
that.
that was the part I couldn't get. So I just didn't answer my phone. I just didn't answer my phone at all. So, and then you get those people who come and then, or some relatives who cry or tell you some prayer like, oh, thank God he's not brain damage in the hospital. I'm like, how is that supposed to make me feel better about the thing? But I think for me, what made me deal with it better was the fact that I went to South Africa. I brought him back. I buried him.
I
went to that. This whole.
Did they tell you didn't bury him?
You're not supposed to go to funeral. I said, I'm going. I'm going to that funeral. I saw him being put on the ground. I mean, I didn't do the whole put the sword over it, but I think for me, I got closure that way, and I was able to them. And I think also the other thing was because he was my only child at the time. Then the next question, soon after burial, is, so when are you going to have another one? As if it's a card that, so
with those kind of questions, you're thinking there'll be another funeral before there's another child. Like if you don't back up.
So it was amazing. People just ask him, so are you going to have another one? I'm like, it's not. Oh, come on, it's not like losing your car or something, insurance will.
I'll pick one.
I mean, as it happens, I now have a daughter, but it wasn't. It like one wasn't linked to the other.
Yeah, it was just like.
Did your family fight you burying him?
Well, I'm quite strong. I
no. That's the short answer. Like no.
My mom didn't go, obviously. Because she was kind of more his mom as well. I mean, it was a funny story. When apparently before he left before he moved to South Africa, he was living in the house and he'd lost. There was an altercation. He got upset, and he broke a door. And
that is your child.
And so apparently my mom had said, whenever this guy comes back to Nigeria, he's coming back to fix this door. So apparently my mom got back, and when she walked up and saw that, she just burst into tears. You mean this boy is not coming back to fix this door? That's what that was really.
Oh my God! Wow. Has it been fixed, Nick?
We hope so.
So when he was speaking about, they asked when you're having next child. I mean, you kind of wrecked it. So is it like they asked you when are you getting married? Is that what they asked you?
I wrote about this in my blog.
Okay, you have a blog.
Yeah,
okay,
something like that.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to help me
What's
deal.
it called?
Okay, it's long. www. Jedakwa. It's Jedakwa.
Jedakwa,
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's his name exactly. So yeah, people said the worst thing. So I actually wrote that, wrote to try to help people, what to say when you go to a bereaved person's house. Because I find that people don't know what to say, they don't know what to do, they don't know how to act. It's just, everything is just so awkward. People ask me, you're going to have to get married again.
You're going to have
You're going to have to. Your children are really little. You're pretty. Don't waste it.
What?
don't waste it. I've heard of someone that got married after 6 months, so it's not too bad. It's not too bad. You can do it. You want to marry like a Caucasian or an African?
I mean, okay, are these people close to you? Wow.
Some people close to me, some people who were just walking by the estate and, oh, there's a dead person's house. Let's go and sympathize with them. And then they just come and they start asking questions. Oh, how are you? How did he die? Were you there? How do you feel? And I'm like, I don't even know you. Oh, people just,
did you,
it's amazing.
Lash out at any point? Or
No,
you held
funny
it
enough,
in?
again, because, so... what's the word? I'd become so numb, and everything was automated. I actually was comforting people because some people just came through the door. Oh my God, he's dead. I thought so. I would like help them up. Don't worry, don't worry. So it was a madhouse. It was crazy. So I didn't lash out at anyone except someone I felt was really negative because she was just telling me, you're going to be sad, you're going to be bitter, you're going to be lonely, your children are going to be sad. She had lost her husband, and that was her experience. So she was just telling me all these negative things, and I'm like, no, God forbid, I'm not this, that. So that was like the only, and probably the doctor who tried to sedate me. If you're watching, I'm really sorry.
Why did he?
Because everybody thought that was, people don't know what to do, and they think they are helping, or they're trying to help. So they just felt, okay, she's going to break down, she's going to cry. Let's just sedate her.
Let's get in front of it.
And I'm like, no, I have 2 children. I've sent them away. First of all, they're going to come back. They're going to see all these cars, all these people, and they're going to wonder why. So they need me there in my right frame of mind to talk to them. No, you have to be sedated. You can't do. You're in shock. You're in shock. You don't know. So you find people pulling at you, trying to cry. People were telling me that all the time. Cry. No, but people were like, cry, trying to scatter my. You're going to have to loosen your hair. You have to look shabby.
You have.
Oh dear.
When you found out that he was suffering from this horrible illness, what were the rest of those months like? Did you think, okay, let's just try and make the most of it, or was it all looking at him, knowing that it was
different emotions? It was horrible. Denial for a very long time. Same as Ike. God, like, you're joking, right? This can't be happening to me. It's not supposed to happen to me. So it's just a joke. First of all, going through all that, and then watching him fight it. I'm like, then being when it's like your spouse, and he was really fragile at some point because of all the surgeries, so I wouldn't let him like touch me or anything, or even like be close to him, because I just thought, look, you need to be alive. So like, let's just keep you alive, like don't break. Yes, like don't break, don't do anything, and then for a while let's not just stress you, just there. I'm okay, honestly, I can deal as long as you're alive. As long as you're alive, type of thing.
Seen too many movies.
No, we're fine, type of thing. Let's just be. And then I related to him like a nurse. Instead of, so like it was just a transition, so many things going on at the same time. So you sort of have to learn that you're still the spouse. You still have to be there for him as a spouse, and because for him, he didn't want to like be committed. He was in hospital for a while, because of surgeries in and out of the hospital. But he didn't like want a live-in nurse, because that like made it like more real to him. So I had to do my best, and family members to look after him. And at some point, he went back to work, still a shadow of himself. His organization was really gracious, gave him flexible hours. But it took its toll, obviously.
I think its toll. Africans, Nigerians particularly, we never prepare for death. So with cancer especially, the numbers should let you know that you're fighting a battle it's not often won, right? But with my mother-in-law, we didn't prepare. We didn't make the best of the time that we have left. If you're in jail and you have an executioner coming, and you have a window of time, you want to make the best of that time, right?
Make your amends.
And I'm not saying it always ends that way. I'm not trying to say lose hope completely. But you know, it would be so much better if I could go back. I would have certain conversations. You know, I would have certain conversations. I would do certain things. We would go out. I wouldn't wait. I wouldn't wait till you're better. There's certain things I would definitely have said or done. You know, with the time that we had.
Okay. So
I just agree with what he said. I'm sorry. Like now I say, like I think there was a movie about this, that the mom recorded messages to her children when because she knew she was dying. So like first day of school, when you're getting married, your first boyfriend, and I know that he wanted to do things like that. He's like, let's do this. I'm like, no, you're not dying, you're not going anywhere. No, let's even talk about it. So now I'm just like, I wish I had done things like that. And I know people try to get us to, you know, go on holidays and, you know, just enjoy ourselves, enjoy the time left. But
so
we didn't.
No, I was just going to ask the two of them that you feel sometimes as Nigerians again that in situations like these that we tend to put our faith more in religion than in the medical in medical services.
Oh, definitely.
And you think that's the right approach?
No, I think I'm a Christian, so my natural inclination is to believe and have faith. But at the same time, I think also there has to be, sometimes even faith isn't just for what you want it for. Faith is supposed to be to help you deal with issues in life. So faith doesn't mean the only way faith is working is that if the person gets healed. Faith is to be able to deliver, to go through that tough time and keep the faith. You know, so
faith that is the right doctors.
Or just faith. Look, people die young. It happens. Jesus did make it to 40. So that's, you know, we have to be able to be accepting of the fact that this may not end with the person getting up out of this, because it has happened to many people before. So have faith, and in that place, still do things. You know, have conversations. You know, there's so many conversations you would have with someone if you knew you would never go and see them again. The questions you would ask, there are things you would say to them.
So I think for me that was the other thing I didn't mention was that whole idea of you never know when it's sudden death. You never know when the last time you're going to speak to them, or you never know that the last time you speak to them is actually the last time you're going to speak to them. And for me, that was the yes, we had a fallout actually, because he had just gotten an apartment and he asked me to furnish it for him, and luckily I wasn't next to him because I would have reset his brain like he was on the phone. We had reset like that's the joy of getting an apartment. You know, you get your first paycheck, you buy one small sofa, but you know you wanted me to get to you're not ready to move out.
Lufa right there.
Yeah. So it was a little, and I think for him, as they say in Yoruba, when you're similar on it, because he kind of felt that, dude, you've been absent from my life for so long. You owe me. Pay up. So we hadn't spoken for like a month. You know, we were having a standoff, as it were. And then something just said to me the week before he died to call him. And I called him, and we spoke that Sunday, and then the week after.
Thank God for that. So back to his question. I know people mix religion and actual faith up a lot. You know.
That's also. Because that's what I meant, religion, not faith.
Exactly. Doing the religious things will probably get you nowhere. So it's for you to have that personal relationship with God, and it's God that will help you through. There's grace, there's faith, like Ike said. So. Yeah.
Because I know people who've been in situations and at first have refused medical treatment because, Pastor said.
It all depends on what the Holy Spirit tells you. But most times you find that someone else told them and they didn't have the faith for it. So.
There's an image that I saw about 3 years after he passed. And immediately I saw it, I was immediately drawn to it without actually knowing what it was or what it was meant to depict. Until I read the caption. And it says, the statue is called Emptiness. And it was built by a man who lost a child. And they said, this is the feeling you get when you've lost a child. The poignancy of it was, like I said, I didn't even know that is what it meant. And I saw it and I read it and it was exactly what, the feeling I was going through.
Also, if I could say one thing to people who get diagnosed with terminal illnesses, at that very moment that you've been diagnosed, usually you're still looking good, you still have use of most of your body, your hair, you look the same. I think at that time, from that moment forward, start to do things like take pictures with your kids, take pictures with family, get pictures taken of yourself, even if your family won't do it. Because one of the strangest things when people die in Nigeria is finding pictures.
Yeah,
finding pictures of them, and then also
where they're not at a party.
Yeah, where they're not at a party eating jollof rice. Like just a picture, finding just a picture of someone is so difficult.
Looking like
so take pictures and also create a few memories that they can take from that moment. Go on cruises, go on holidays, do things with your family while you still have the capacity to do it.
I think that's very poignant advice. Yeah. So, like in summation, I guess we can say maybe not necessarily the best, but I mean like an advisable way to deal with grief is to make use of the time you have. Basically, so in the now, just because there are things that you can't control. So it's just life. So just what they call it, take advantage of all the time you have, so it's easier to deal with. Like so if there's a fight, like you say, don't let the sun go down on anger. Even though I mean it's really was prescribed for couples, but I think it should be for everyone and everything. So especially in situations like cancer, where like the odds aren't great, like you said. So let's not do the African / religious thing of it's not my portion. Nobody wishes that, but like I said, from jump, that's the only thing that you're promised. You are walking this way. You came in, you're going out. It's not going to happen the way we want it. I mean, like people that want the Game of Thrones rewrite, no, it has ended. Things come to an end. So I'd like to thank you guys so much. I mean, for sharing. It couldn't have been easy, but you never know who's watching, what you might have done for someone else. What I think. I mean, for me, as in, I'm going to go home and hug the family tighter, but not in a choking way that to accelerate the process. So
and you're right. I think for me, one piece of advice I'd like to leave with your viewers is just don't take anything for granted. You cannot take anything for granted. And that was what I walked out of that. I really took my relationship with my son for granted. I thought,
you'll always be
in 10 years, we'll sort this thing out.
Have a beer on the
you bury me, don't worry. So it's fine. And I'm not going anywhere yet. So blah blah blah. I was blindsided. I never saw that coming. I never saw that coming at all. So
Kaliko, IK, Toriseju, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Everyone that tuned in, I'd like to thank you for watching. I'm just a curious guy who wants to know more about the world around me, which is why I do this, ask these questions. And as always, it's for the culture. I hope you come back again. Till next time. Bye-bye.